Hey everyone! Today we're going to be talking about how to convert customary weight. The process is very similar to converting customary length, but obviously we have different measurements because we're measuring something different. Let's see how it goes. Before we can talk about how to convert customary weight, let's talk about the different units that you're going to see today. The smallest unit you're going to see is what we call the ounce. And a pencil is about the same weight as 1 ounce. The next unit that you'll see is a pound, and a large apple is about the same weight as 1 pound. The largest unit that you're going to see is what we call a ton. Now sometimes we joke around and say, oh, this weighs a ton, but did you know that it's actually a math measurement? 1 ton is about the same weight as an adult polar bear. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen an adult polar bear, but they're pretty big. Let's find out how much each of these weigh. When you're doing your customary weight conversions, there are only 2 conversions that you have to know. The first one is that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. Now, if you remember, we said that 1 pound is the same weight as a large apple, and 1 ounce is the same weight as a pencil. So your apple weighs the same as 16 pencils. The other conversion you need to know is that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. Do you remember that adult polar bear we were talking about? That adult polar bear is the same weight as 2,000 apples. That is a lot of apples. After you figure out which conversion you're going to use, the next thing you have to do is figure out what operation you need to do. To figure this out, we're using the same rhyme as yesterday. Do you remember the rhyme? The rhyme was big to small, multiply them all, small to big, divide, you dig? So what that means is if I'm going from a bigger unit, such as a ton, to a smaller unit, such as a pound, I need to multiply. But if I'm going from a smaller unit, such as an ounce, to a bigger unit, such as a pound, I need to divide. Let's see how this works. In our first example, we're going to find out how many pounds are in 3 tons. So, just like yesterday, you have to ask yourself, what do I know about these measurements? The first thing that you know is that you have 3 tons. And the second thing that you know is that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. If I'm going from tons to pounds, I'm going big to small, so I multiply them all. To figure out how many pounds I have, I'm going to multiply 2,000 times 3, and I find that 3 tons is the same weight as 6,000 pounds. Let's do another one. In this example, we need to find out how many pounds are in 64 ounces. So I ask myself, what do I know about these measurements? The first thing I know is that I have 64 ounces. And the next thing I know is that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. When I'm going from ounces to pounds, I'm going from small to big, so I have to divide. You dig? When I divide 64 by 16, I find that 64 ounces is the same weight as 4 pounds. This is just like yesterday, isn't it? This last example is just like the others, but it has a little twist to it. Let's find out how many pounds are in 38 ounces. So when I ask myself what I know about the measurements, I know that I have 38 ounces and that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So when I go from ounces to pounds, I go small to big, so I have to divide. You dig? Here's where the twist comes in. When I divide 38 divided by 16, I end up with 2 remainder 6. Now what does that remainder mean? First, the quotient is going to tell you how many pounds you have. And then your remainder tells you what your leftover ounces are. So when I have an answer of 2 remainder 6, that tells me that 38 ounces equals 2 pounds and 6 ounces. Make sure you interpret that remainder the right way. When you're completing your work today, you're going to use the same checklist to success as yesterday. In that checklist, the first thing that you have to figure out is what do you know about your measurements? This is where you can use those conversions from earlier in the video to help you. The next step is asking yourself, do I need to multiply or divide? That's when you ask yourself, big to small, multiply them all, or is it small to big, divide, you dig? After you know all of that information, then you can solve and check your work. Just as easy as 1, 2, 3. As you're completing your work today, keep all of this information in mind. You need to remember that 1 pound equals 16 ounces and 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. Also remember, big to small, multiply them all, and small to big, divide. You dig? If you can keep all of this in mind, you're going to do awesome with your work today. Good luck!